Hi, I'm Stevie Fernandez.
And I'm Trish Whitmer. Hello, and thank you for stopping in for this week's Explore Tulsa. Now, Stevie, did you ever dream of being a pilot?
I think all kids dream of that. But me, I wanted to be Walt Disney or a speed racer more.
Lucky for us, Dr. John Swartz wanted to be a pilot, which led him to becoming an amazing surgeon that collects the jets he dreamed of flying.
As a kid growing up in rural America in the 60s, I think every boy's dream was to become a jet fighter pilot and probably an astronaut as well. So of course we did everything we could to fulfill those fantasies. For as long as I can remember as a young guy, I always wanted to go to the Air Force. Air Force Academy was my preferred method of getting there, and I always wanted to fly fighter jets. From the academy, I had a choice of going directly to medical school. I'd done well enough academically and was a pre-med major. But I also had my slot to start undergraduate pilot training at Vance Air Force Base. I was actually very excited when I got that news and went to the nearest phone booth and called my fiancée at the time to give her the great news that we were moving to Enid, Oklahoma to start pilot training. And it was at that time I learned that she was not particularly keen on having a pilot as a husband, especially a military pilot. In those days, aviation was a little bit different. So her choice was that I go to medical school, which I did. After medical school, postgraduate training, raising a family, my aviation dreams were placed on hold for quite a few years. Looking back, I think her advice was well taken. She is now my wife of 40 years. And looking back at my academy classmates and roommates, I can count 6 of them that are no longer with us as a result of aircraft incidents in the military. So it was a good decision. Unfortunately for her, she gave me the permission to start flying again once our children were grown and out of the house. And I think she's regretting that decision to finally give me permission to start flying again. The aircraft I have are incredibly rare. They represent early American history, jet age history. These are actual aircraft flown by the U.S. Air Force. They weren't built in some foreign country by some foreign Air Force and then imported. These are true survivors, which is very rare. After World War II, the U.S. government developed a policy that equipment would be destroyed. It was no longer going to be made available to civilians. But a few aircraft were disseminated to vocational teaching centers. And the purpose then was to develop aviation mechanics at the VOTEC schools, and these aircraft were sent to various VOTEC schools around the country and used to teach young men how to rebuild engines, how to work on the electrical systems. The contracts were worded such that after a period of time, the VOTEC school would be declared the owner of it and they could do with it whatever they want. And a very, very rare few survived their days in the VOTEC schools and actually ended up in civilian hands. And these are some examples of those aircraft. The examples that we're standing in front of now, this one particularly, is very important. It actually is the oldest airworthy jet in the world right now. It is the only flying example of the F-86A model. This particular aircraft was built in 1948. It is the world's oldest flying jet as well. The flights in these airplanes are relatively limited. The flights that I take are simply to maintain proficiency. The skills required to fly these safely aren't maintained if you ignore them. So you do have to fly the airplanes for proficiency. More importantly, they are taken to air shows and displayed publicly. I think it's important for people to see what our early military history was all about. Grand Lake attracted us many, many years ago when we were becoming civilians, transitioning from the Air Force to civilian life. So we fell in love with Grand Lake many years ago, and it has been our home now. We've raised our children here, and this is where they call home as well.